you've been able to watch us for a while now. What position would you say, and in your time mingling with us YouTubers and really getting a weekly update on the Canes for the last 183 weeks so that we're rolling here, what positions or position would you say Miami's been doing a really good job at, and it stood out to you from afar year in and year out?
Running back. That's the first one that hits me immediately.
Okay.
I think you're in a better place at running back right this second than you have been in the last 5 years since I've been talking to all of you. I think the 3 running backs are exceptional that you have right now. Well, the one is proven, Cam Harris, and the other 2 probably have more ability. They just haven't gotten the reps yet. But from what we've seen, especially from Donald Chaney, he could be a top 5 running back in the nation this year. Absolutely. Who knows? Or the next year. So the running back.
You got Brown, who was going to Tennessee, who just committed to us, 4-star back. And Thad Franklin, 4-star back, top 10 in his position also, who are now coming in as freshmen. So, yeah.
And again, you're taking it back roughly 5 years. Mark Walton was really good. I was impressed with him. DJ Dallas, I never thought got the ball enough. Travis Homer was a 1,000-yard back. At the very first time when I started to get on some Miami contributors was the time that Duke Johnson was near the end of his run. So that's a pretty good run of running backs right there.
Really? So Cam goes back to 2014? I thought it was 15. Somewhere in there. Then,
the first time he came on was actually, I believe, wasn't 13 the year
the Louisville game.
He played Louisville. Yeah.
Yeah. You're right. And that's when we had Duke Johnson and Gus Edwards was our 2 backs.
There you go.
And
so, yeah.
Warren Elder was coming in, but he switched to corner. So that was big.
So, yeah, running back hit me right away.
Okay. All right. I thought you were going to say D-line.
Yeah.
But back is huge, though, because, I mean, you go from, in this time, I mean, Duke is absolutely the best of the best. That's no question. But you got Duke Johnson. You go from him to Mark Walton and Joe Yearby. You go from those guys to DJ Dallas and Travis Homer. You go from those guys to Cam Harris, Knight, and Chaney. So it's been pretty good. And every single one of those that we just riled off to you are 4-star or higher. And that's where it should be at Miami. You need a top 10 back at his position, preferably top 5, but I don't really, with teams like Georgia, Bama, Oklahoma having these high-powered offenses, the cream of the top goes to those schools. And we get the local really good player. But that's interesting. Okay, so what position would you say? You said backs, so I'm going to ask you the inverse. What position would you say has been the most disappointing, and it may change your answer with this one. So I'll give you the most disappointing, and I'll ask your last one. Most disappointing position. If I ask you what's been the best and most productive, you give me back. So what has been the one where you're just like, not enough here, not enough?
Well, this is obvious to me because every other position on the field has been both good or bad. Not bad. That's too strong. Every other position on the field as I go through every other level except defensive line. Like you mentioned, the defensive line has been consistently very good, if not one of the best in the country.
Right.
Every other position I'm looking at, I would have put the linebackers on the positive side up until last season for the most part. But as I look at every level on both sides of the football, I think offensive line's the obvious answer. The offensive line has never been what you would consider good.
Okay. I would say that 2013 O-line was pretty damn good.
I wasn't quite going back.
Oh, okay. You weren't like super in depth. Well, that O-line had Brandon Linder, who's the highest paid center in the NFL right now. You had Eric Flowers, first-round draft pick. John Feliciano, one of the better interior offensive linemen in the NFL, was on that team. Chantrell Henderson was the right tackle on that team. And Casey McDermott was the center on that team back in 2013. The 2017 O-line, I would honestly say, was pretty dang good. You had Shane McDermott was the center. Casey McDermott, his little brother, left tackle. Trevor Darling, left guard. Tyler Gauthier at center. At right guard, a freshman All-American, Navon Donaldson. And at right tackle, Tyree St. Louis. So those would be, and if I could only name you 2 in 10 years, then that's a problem. But I get what you're saying. Like, you would never call them like, you got to watch that Miami O-line. Someone in Wyoming wouldn't be able to turn on the Miami game and be like, holy smokes, they are moving people up front. So I guess with that. All right, last one.
And for 3 consecutive years, the quarterback play was well below standard, 17, 18, 19.
And that hurts because as much as a fan as I am of N'Kosi Perry, it was bad, man. I remember rewatching the game not too long ago, and I think he was 13 of 32. Well, that's what happens when you have, like, John Rector QB. Oh, God. You might as well, ask the basketball coach to come out and coach the quarterback. Just holy smokes. Anyway, my last question for you. The most talented, so ranking systems, star rankings is the most talented that it's mind-boggling to you that they didn't produce. What has been the position that has been the most talented? You don't see it translate to on the football field.
Ooh, that's tough. Because I think the secondary has been pretty good up until this past season. I think the entire defense has been generally a top 15 defense. I don't care what the stats say, but has generally been a top 15 defense going back to 16.
Uh-huh.
And I think all levels have played well for the most part. I'm taking 2020 out of the mix primarily because the linebackers didn't play well. The secondary didn't play well. But all 3 levels before that were playing well, led by the D-line. And then, of course, they had that trio of linebackers who were veterans that made plays that I shouldn't say made plays. They didn't make game-changing kind of plays. They did their jobs for 3 years.
I would say wide receiver, Mark.
See, that was the first thing that came to mind. But I think before this current group, they had Braxton Berrios and Amon Richards. I thought they had a really good run of wide receivers. Shoot, man, I'm already losing names. Number four,
Jeff Thomas.
Jeff Thomas, yes.
Now, see, here's my thing. I worded it the way that I did because all those guys are super talented. All those guys former Under Armour All-American guys. JT Full was an Under Armour American, an MVP. But when did that translate to on the football field? I know everybody has their views on Ahmad Richards. Top 5 overall player, yada, yada, yada. Ahmad Richards was what he did on that football field. No one has to justify with words. You were able to watch and see he had ultra production on that freaking football field, right? Braxton Berrios didn't give us much until his senior season.
Okay.
Now, that's no slight on him. He's an NFL guy.
Yeah.
He's playing the National Football League. He was a 4-star recruit, top 10 in his position. Didn't give us anything until he was a senior, production-wise. And when he did, he went off. But still, it was sporadic. Stacey Coley. I really loved Stacey Coley. I thought he was one of the best players, but he had one of the biggest drops in college football in my eyes. Like, he was a freshman All-American. He didn't make any teams until his senior year, where he was an honorable mention All-ACC. So you're a 2013 National All-American as a freshman. By the time you depart, you're playing at an honorable mention level in your own conference. Now, QB play plays a big role in their production because wide receiver is one of the most dependent positions on the field. You could be super wide open. You could beat your dude. You could be wide open by 30 yards. QB can't get the ball to you. The snap didn't get to the QB properly, or you have an incompetent coach who doesn't know how to scheme you open. Like you have the wide receiver is super, super, super important. So the reason why I say it's one of those where I'm not here to disrespect or down talk that position, but I'm saying it was one of the most talented, but it didn't always translate to on football success in my eyes.
And for that very reason, I hesitated there, and I thought of a few standouts. And I thought more of Berrios as an NFL player and the senior season that set him up for that career. And again, I don't think there's any question it's the most dependent position on the field by far. You know, other players
QB,
are dependent.
You can take it over.
Yeah.
At running back, you could take over a game. You know.
You need blocking, but on a particular, you can make things happen if you just get a little bit of help. But yeah, those wide receivers.
Hot dog.